Hi there and welcome. It's Chris Ward here with AbundantYogi.com, the nourishing training grounds for yogis, coaches, and other heart-centered entrepreneurs whose aim is true freedom and whose deepest ache is for authenticity, specifically having the freedom and the abundance to be authentically themselves all the time in life and in business. Alchemy is a new interview series that I'm offering for no other reason than to spread the love and to get to spend some quality time with some of my favorite people on the planet, people who I consider to be true alchemists who have made nothing short of magic happen in their lives and careers. Here's what the alchemists I'll be interviewing all have in common. It's 5 unmistakable things. First, they are very real. Unassuming, raw, what you see is what you get. Second, they are deeply connected to their own heart, which connects them to the hearts of others. Third, they are here to serve, and it shows. Fourth, they are here to design a life, not just make a living. And fifth, they are doing work that they love, that truly represents who they are at their core, and they are creating quite the ripple effect in the world as a result. In these interviews, you'll get a little taste of how they've done what they've done, what they have learned along the way, and how you too can practice alchemy in your own life and business, in your flavor and your style. Today, I feel so privileged to be interviewing Jessica Boylston-Fagonde, aka Jess. If you don't know Jess, she's a dear friend of mine. If you don't know her work, what I can tell you about her is that she ignites big mission ideas through the lens of her unconventional branding approach called Brand Thyself. Her contagious passion has inspired hundreds of yoga teachers, coaches, and therapists to trust and to amplify their creative voices. Jessica's wisdom-driven workshops, online courses, and one-on-one sessions dig deep into the heart of a person's purpose and unique offerings. She travels frequently, bringing her empowering seminars and workshops to yoga studios, festivals, and conferences throughout the U.S. and elsewhere. She's been featured on Yoga Teacher Telesummit, 90 Minutes to Change the World, and the Yogipreneur, and has spoken at the Southeast Yoga Conference, Iowa City Yoga Festival, Mind Body Yoga Festival in Istanbul, and Abundant Yogi Live last year. She is the founder and creative director of Rue Concept and Rue Yoga Design, which have been offering heart-centered branding services to the yoga community since 2005. With a generous spirit and lots of wit, Jess's work inspires holistic practitioners and entrepreneurs to bring their unique message forward and stand in their power. So, without further ado, I would love for you to meet my dear friend, Jess. So, Jess, hello.
Hi.
You are looking gorgeousness today in your turquoise wall and your fuchsia shirt, and I can see a little peek of the yellow kitchen behind you. And of course, I've been to your house, so I know how bright it is. But you are just especially glowing today.
Thank you. You're looking good too.
Well, I'm actually post massage, and so this is like, the massage oils got rubbed into the hair. So we just went ahead and threw it up in a ponytail and went with it.
That's right. That's good.
But I am so excited to have you here, and right away I want to give you the floor because I always love to share your goodness and your wisdom and all the good things that you're up to. We all want to hear about you and your story, especially what you've got cooking lately. But before we get there, let's start at the beginning. So why Brand Thyself? How did that come to be?
Okay. Well, I think it really came out of necessity for me and necessity for the people that I serve and offer my work to. Brand Thyself is really this call to action to know thyself. It's really to take a deep dive to the heart of who you are, what you have to offer, and what makes it uniquely different, to really understand the heart of your offering. And that came from me doing so much deep dive work on myself and really having to look at the heart of my own offering and what am I truly here to do in this world. And so that birthed through a long process of getting to this point of understanding.
And why is it so important to you personally to help people get to the heart of their unique offering?
That's a great question. I went through a really difficult time, which is what got me on the mat. And I had these really powerful yoga teachers that were helping me stand back in my own power and really helping me find the heart of myself again. And what I found really that's important for me is to help more yoga teachers get to the heart of their offering so they can do that for others that are looking to stand back into their own power. Because, yoga teachers are on the forefront of change, and we need those teachers really knowing truly what's at the core. And because of all this process that I've been through, I've gotten really clear about how to access that point.
So, the process that you've been through, let's dive into that a little bit, because I know it's a really rich one, and it's a very deep and intimate one, and it's been bittersweet, right? Mm-hmm. But I know you very well, and I know that you went through some pretty major transitions and transformations. So if you had to articulate what they were, what sort of transformations did you have to go through to get to where you are now, helping other leaders do this deep dive in this kind of work?
Trusting myself is like the simplest way that I can say it. But the transformation to get me there was really having to lose a lot of myself for a moment to really see what was really important. So sometimes I think we're living these lives, and if we're seekers, which most yoga teachers are, we're seeking and seeking and seeking. And there comes a point that we realize so much about who we are, and there's parts of ourselves that are keeping us from stepping fully in. And that's what was my biggest transformation, is I had to hit up against parts of myself that were not serving me.
Yeah.
And really to really trust what I knew more confidently what I could do. And I think that comes just back to how we were raised or the habits that we've created throughout life. And then we come to a point where like, wait a minute, what do I really want out of this? How am I truly going to serve myself? Mm-hmm. And so there was just a lot of getting over that. But I've always been a risk taker. I've always been someone that's kind of paved the path that I want. I've not been conventional, and I've never taken the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
And I think even those that kind of take this unconventional path, we still knock up against those things of where we should be, what we should be doing. And for me, it was really just having to take a real hard look about what I wanted out of life. And I had to take those transformations of looking at that.
Yeah. It sounds like replacing the shoulds with what do I really want, and what really lights me up, and what am I aching for, and what's longing and stirring within me that is deeply connected to my heart and to my own happiness. It sounds like
that's right.
That was the direction in which you went.
A little bit of looking on the outside, looking at the things I could get involved in that would help me get there. But it was also a deep dive of having to look within. So I was mirroring these two different worlds on the outside, and it wasn't always cute.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You brought up the piece about always having been a risk taker, and I do know that about you. You're an entrepreneur through and through. So I often ask this question. Big name players, they do take a lot of risks, and therefore they often, they get a lot of wins and they get a lot of failures. They make a lot of mistakes along the way, and they learn from those mistakes and keep moving in order to create big, beautiful, powerful, profitable things in life and business that add a lot of value in the world. I'm hoping you would be so generous to reveal to us a gracious mistake, turned priceless learning lesson, so that we can learn from your learning.
This is another great question. You always have those great questions to ask. I have to tell you, to be honest with you, I really honestly don't believe in mistakes. Brand Thyself is really at the core of what I'm doing here. Is I'm really helping us look at everything that we've done to see a really connected thread to all of it, and could it possibly be perfect as is?
Yeah.
And I say this, and of course I've got still more time to live on this planet and go through a process. So we could have this conversation one day down the road, and I may tell you something slightly different. But if there's one thing I can say that I've learned through this process, what looked like a mistake actually ended up being perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for where there was money lost or difficult headaches through with clients, to all the stumbling blocks of thinking you don't know enough, to whatever it was. When I look back at every one of them, I'm so grateful. And I will say what I've come to realize out of that is that it's when you're in between the opening of a door and the closing of a door and when the next door is going to open.
Yeah.
Sitting there in the doorway, it feels like a mistake.
Yeah.
We have to be patient right there in that moment.
Yeah.
Because as soon as that next door opens, without that situation. So to be quite honest with you, I don't see any of it like that. I've been, this is a question that I knew was probably coming. And and the reality is that I don't have anything to share except that we've got to allow every mistake to be there.
Yeah.
For the growth.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with all of that. I have so many mentors and so many little pieces of inspiration that are swirling through my head right now that all sort of point to that same truth, and they say it in a different way. But probably 10 years ago, I studied a method called the Sedona method, and then there's sort of a sister method to it called the release technique. And there was a statement that they used, more or less a tool or a mantra, if you wanted to call it that, where literally when the shit hits the fan, or when you are in between one door closing before the next one opens, when you're in that painful place of limbo and uncertainty and not knowing what's coming next, and especially if you really believe that you're totally screwed and you just made this god-awful mistake and the world's coming to an end sort of thing, the mantra that they suggest is, could I let go of being so smart and allow this to be something other than I think it is?
Wow, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. To me, it's poetry. It's just really what it's saying is, can we stay curious?
If I could add one thing to that,
please.
Is what I've come to realize, if we're going to be a leader, if we're standing up leading something, it's every mistake or every situation that's our resource. We need it.
Yeah.
How are we going to identify with the people that we're here offering to if we haven't been through enough of them, and if we don't see the mistakes as resource for how we can bring more opportunity for ourselves and them, so they can start to see themselves more clearly? And I feel like it's a part of the process.
Oh, totally. So they're resources, and they can often be our greatest assets, those learning lessons.
That's right.
We won't call them mistakes. You don't have any of those, but you do have assets. You do have resources. You do have learning lessons. Would you be so generous to share one of those with us that was a big piece in your transformation?
I think patience is the thing that I bump up against the most. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely one that likes to see that results are happening too quickly sometimes.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things, if I look back at my resource pool and I look at all the events in my life, if I could have just been patient enough and maybe sat right there for a little longer in the heat of it all, just to let it weigh itself out a little longer. And I think that's sometimes the universe perhaps is pushing you forward to move through it faster to get to the next thing, possibly. But for me, that's what I've had to really embrace within myself. And I continue to have to work on that. Yeah. Being a solo entrepreneur is so important for really finding that deeper patience and trust. And when I'm not trusting myself, that's when, I create more havoc for myself.
Yeah. I know how that goes. The trust and the self-care for me are, when I'm not trusting myself, I create a whole lot of havoc. And when I let my self-care slip, even in the slightest bit, that's when the havoc can creep in. Next question. What do you feel is the single most important mindset to employ if you really want to design a life versus just making a living?
Well, based on what we were just talking about, being a solo entrepreneur, really co-creating with your partners. Being a solo entrepreneur is such a beautiful process, but at the same time, you can feel like you're in a box at times. And the more we can literally remove the walls for a moment and literally find our partners that truly believe in us, that truly are there for us in our own process and want to see us thrive and become more successful. That to me is finding, we use this word tribe, but I mean, find your own partner tribe. Like that's, I think is so important, especially if you're if you're not building a program that can just make money while you sleep kind of concept, and you literally have to be active in that role all the time. Your partners are so important in this process, because if we really want to reach a broader audience, it's through different audiences that we can be of greater service, and we all need each other, because we're the ones that are co-creating together and being able to be an inspiration for each other. So that leads me to so much gratitude for you being a huge inspiration to me. And you know, Chris and I happen to live in the same town, which is kind of crazy. And this friendship that's come out of kind of business opportunities of just looking at each other, of what we do, and now diving in from a friendship level of just like, how can we be a greater service independently, but together?
Yes. And I have so much to share on this piece, but I want to be very transparent for a moment, because it's kind of funny to reveal this piece. First of all, I'm going to circle back around to reiterate what you just said so that we all have shared meaning and people really got your juicy answer to that question that I just asked you about the single most important mindset to employ if you really want to design a life versus just make a living. And you basically said, like, really realize that as solopreneurs, we actually have to co-create so that we're not so solo. And what I'm gathering from that is it makes it so much more fun. It makes it to where you don't run out of inspiration. It makes it to where you can draw from a larger audience because you're getting to put your offering in front of your friends and colleagues' audiences as well. And so that to you is a big piece of life by design versus life by default, is making sure that you are co-creating and collaborating in that way. And I know that you and I just decided to reveal a very exciting announcement, which I'll do here in just a moment. But before we go to that, most everyone who's a part of my audience knows that I'm moving in the direction of opening a studio before too long, and that you have been one of the potential co-creators of that, and that got you and I in that conversation and closer and sharing more about our business and our passion and our, upcoming projects. And it led us to a place of very deep trust and very deep collaboration where we are today. But it's actually quite funny, and this is the part I was giggling about before, to see that we've become so close, because Lee, the third potential partner with us in the studio, she is a friend, but she was also a client of mine way back when I lived in San Diego, several years ago now. She was a coaching client of mine. And you and Lee and I have been in this conversation about studio. Well, in the beginning, it was like there's Chris, there's Lee, and there's Jess. And we all were kind of trying to find our place in things and what role we would play and what strengths we had and what skills we had and like who would step up where. Mm-hmm. And you and I were so similar. It was almost a little bit of this. It was kind of a little bit like, because you were so much like me. It was like, wait, but that's the role I play, It was like we literally wanted to play the same role. And it was very uncomfortable in the beginning because I was pressing up against what almost felt like competition. But all I knew is it was just this fluttery, uncomfortable something inside of me. But at the same time, something within me was like, stay here. Like, be willing to be in this conversation, because something about it is edgy to your humanity. Like, it makes you vibrate. It makes you sort of more alive. And there's something about it that while it's uncomfortable, it's exciting and it feels like truth. And that's all I knew. It wasn't even like a conscious thing. It was definitely my stuff that was going on in my interior. Right. And I really don't know when or how the shift happened, but I think eventually we just realized, like, okay, we are so alike that we're like sisters. And imagine how powerful it could be if we were on the same team. And then it was almost this like giddy, beautiful, playful, sweet richness where suddenly I felt stronger, not weaker.
That's right.
And so I'll go ahead and weave in our announcement now as sort of segueing into that. As a result of that tension that we had to press up against, and breaking through that and coming out on this other side and realizing how much more powerful we are together, still being able to stand strong in our unique offerings of Brand Thyself and Abundant Yogi, but finding other ways to share and co-create and collaborate and support and want the absolute best for each other. That took a lot of trust in ourselves and the universe and in each other. Trust in enoughness, trust in abundance, in there's enough space for both of us. And so long story short is we have an incredibly exciting announcement to make, which is that Jess and I are launching a new show. It's called Heart to Heart TV. It is a sweet collaboration that, quite frankly, is spiritually and emotionally trumping everything else that we've got going on. And so I'll give you the quick scoop on that show. Our tagline is candid conversations with Chris and Jess about the fierce tenderness and other beautiful contradictions in being a guide within the wellness and empowerment revolution. Now, ultimately, what this is about is that there are a gazillion yoga teachers and coaches out there today, and a gazillion more teacher and coach trainings pumping out new teachers and coaches by the day. So the question for all of us is, how do we become more skillful at standing in our power, owning our unique voice and talent, and yet differentiating ourselves as yoga teachers, coaches, or what have you, without becoming competitive, without becoming isolated, and without becoming rivals, fostering the exact opposite of the unity that we're all trying to create within the community. So I just couldn't be more excited about that.
Well, I'm super excited about too. And just to add to that it's really not a black and white topic.
Yeah.
We know that. And it's filled with tons of beautiful contradictions. But the aim is that we are here to share more about how can we create a successful career and stay true to ourselves in the process. Mm-hmm. And I think the important piece is that what I've come to realize by being in this process with you, like, we had to really get to some heart to hearts with ourselves.
Yes.
And have some deep, candid conversations, and to really just let go of it all, to realize, like, all of this is for a bigger picture. Yes. That's how I've come to realize it. Like, I can't say that's mine.
Yes.
It is. I mean, we are all building our unique offerings. And of course, there's things that are true to you and true to me, and we have to stay firm to that. But how can we still come together, show up together, and be something greater of a bigger offering, and still know what we each have to offer, but realize that there's a lot of this going on. And why? Because we can be a bigger voice, and that we can't worry so much about if it's touching too close to one another.
Yeah.
It's just been such a beautiful process for me, and everything you said about all the feelings and stuff, had those feelings too, and I'm just so grateful that we may have to listen to this video for ourselves one day, but who knows? I mean, but it is going to be a process, and the more we like keep talking about it and just sharing, and I think that's what we all have to keep doing.
Yeah, it really is a matter of like pressing up against the things that make us uncomfortable and standing in our power and really being, the right amount of transparent and being authentic and really staying in integrity, not just parroting what others are saying, but really diving deep into our own message and mission and then sharing that in a powerful way and acknowledging where others have inspired us, so it's just, I'm so excited to dive deep into that. It's such a broad topic and such a juicy topic and so many contradictions in there, so much paradox in there that we literally could sit and have tea all the time and then just invite all of these people to be flies on the wall during these candid conversations. So we are very excited also to announce that you guys should stay tuned for this because on November 15th, our favorite yoga teacher, Elena Brower, who was the yoga teacher that you were referring to when you said that she helped you through some very difficult transitions and growth and transformation. And she's played a huge role in my inspiration and my teaching and my business and whatnot. She really embodies so much of this balance between the beautiful contradiction of, being this guide in the wellness and empowerment revolution in an authentic way.
That's right.
So we, for that reason, have invited her to be our launch guest speaker on the 15th. And very, very excited for that. So, in the spirit of keeping things short and sweet, we're going to go ahead and move things to a wrap. But I wanted to leave you a little window here, Jess. One last chance for closing thoughts or anything that boiled up within you that you now have a hankering to share.
Oh my goodness.
Not to put you on the spot, but just to give you some space. If there's anything you wanted to leave with
simultaneously, and the first thing is we just got to keep trusting our process. It's so important. And realizing wherever we are and whatever we're facing, that perhaps it's perfect. And how can we embrace every bit of it and try to learn the lessons? And how can we turn those lessons that were there for us to turn them into being a beautiful opportunity to share with someone else? I truly believe that once we get super clear about our unique offering, our mission, it becomes a laboratory for our own development. And we are that test driver and test dummy for the process. Yeah. And we're here, the more we can keep utilizing it as a test, it's just more information back out. And so, but we have to just trust that all of it's there to be able to bring more to the table.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
all I can say.
Yeah, beautiful. So apart from chiming in and staying tuned for our Heart to Heart TV on November 15th or thereabouts when we air that interview with Elena, how do our viewers get more Jess?
I do online one-on-ones. So basically via Skype, I do one-on-one offerings and online courses, and then I travel to different places, to studios. And so basically just contacting me via jess@brandthyself.com or going to my website, brandthyself.com. You can learn more about what's going on in my world and would love to hear from you.
Okay, perfect. So to wrap things up, this has been Chris Ward of AbundantYogi.com and Jessica Boylston-Fagonde of BrandThyself.com. If you would like more videos like this, and if you share the same ache for authenticity, specifically the freedom and the abundance to be authentically yourself all the time in life and in business, then make sure that you subscribe to AbundantYogi.com so that I can spoil you rotten with interviews like this one, with juicy insights and tips on lucrative self-realization, mindful marketing, and living true. Plus, when you do that, you'll get my lifestyle design video training entitled Do It for the Love and the Money. So head over there now and hook yourself up if you haven't already. Thank you again for being here. You guys have a gorgeous day, and thank you, Jess. Mwah.